This terrible story, which happened in 2003, kept the whole of England in suspense for 5 long years. 17-year-old girl Hannah Foster disappeared on her way home with less than a kilometer to go. Her things and phone were found in another city. Only a few weeks later, everyone learned the terrible truth, and this case went international. Hannah Foster was born on August 31, 1985 in Southampton in the UK. She lived with her mother Hilary, father Trevor, and older sister Sarah. At school, Hannah was an excellent student, and after graduation planned to enter a medical university. On March 14, 2003, the girl went to meet her friend. They visited 2 local pubs and decided to go home around 10:30 p.m. Hannah walked her friend to the bus stop and waited for her bus. The house was less than a kilometer away, so she decided to walk. Early in the morning, the mother began to get ready for work and realized that her daughter had not returned home. Hilary sent a few text messages and called, but Hannah didn't pick up. A few hours later, at 10:30, the parents contacted the police. The police immediately began the search and first looked at the video footage. At 10:43 p.m., the camera recorded Hannah and her friend walking to the bus stop. They tried to track the location of the girl's phone using cell towers, but the data provided inaccurate information at the time. They established that the phone was located in the city of Portsmouth, 30 minutes by car from Southampton. Soon after, Hannah's bag and phone were found in a Portsmouth dumpster. After studying the information from the phone, detectives learned that the girl called 911 at about 11 p.m. Distant voices were heard on the recording. The operator decided that the emergency number had been dialed accidentally. She switched the call to a voice assistant, which said if you need help, you need to press 2 numbers 5, but Hannah did nothing. The call recording was sent for examination. Experts determined that the girl was in a large vehicle, presumably a van. One voice belonged to a man with an Asian accent. On March 16, 2003, a 14-year-old boy found a body of a girl on the side of the road. It was Hannah. The parents were in shock and could not believe what had happened. Their daughter was kidnapped 800 meters from home. The girl was violated. The cause of death was strangulation. The criminal's DNA was sent for examination, but no matches were found in the database. Investigators had no serious leads, so they decided to transfer all the information to the British television channel BBC News in order to highlight this crime to the public. Detectives hoped to find more witnesses. The program about Hannah's unsolved case aired on March 26. The next day, a man named James Dennis told police he was a manager at a grocery delivery company. One of his employees drives a van and speaks with an Asian accent. The driver turned out to be a 40-year-old migrant from India, Maninder Kohli. The man came to the UK in 1993. He was married and had 2 children. On March 14, Kohli did not leave the van in the official parking lot and drove home in it. The next day I worked until lunchtime and took time off due to feeling unwell, as my back hurt badly. That day the manager noticed fresh scratches on his face. The van was seized and the offender's DNA was found, but there was not enough material to match the sample found on the victim's body. The police went to Kohli's home. The man was away, so they took the DNA of one of his sons. As a result, the DNA matched. Kohli was put on the wanted list and began interrogating relatives and friends. An acquaintance reported that on March 15, Kohli, in tears, asked him to borrow money for an air ticket to India to visit his sick mother. The man refused him. On March 18, Kohli was caught on camera at the bus station, where he bought a ticket to the airport. Upon arrival, he took a ticket to Delhi and took the first flight. On April 3, 2003, police obtained an international arrest warrant for Kohli. In India, local authorities checked his father's house, but Kohli was not there. The father said that he would not help the criminal, even if it was his son. Kohli could not be found for a year. Many began to think that he would escape punishment. Since then, the case froze for a while. Indian law enforcement agencies could not find the suspect, and it began to seem that he would be able to avoid punishment. This went on for over a year. The grief-stricken parents despaired of waiting for justice, and in July 2004 they themselves went to India. They appeared on local television and set up a hotline for anyone who might have information about the suspect's whereabouts. Southampton police have offered a £60,000 reward for information on Kohli's whereabouts. For India, this was a huge amount, which made it possible to attract thousands of people to the search. Very soon this bore fruit. One Indian taxi driver reported that he had given a similar man several rides. The man said that he works in the UK and flew to India for a holiday. Apparently this information was of great help to the police. On July 15, they announced Kohli's arrest. It turned out that the man was living under a false name and even married a local woman. As soon as he heard that Hannah's story had received widespread coverage on television, the criminal decided to flee abroad. The police were almost too late. He and his new wife were captured on the border with Nepal. Kohli confessed to the crime on camera. He stated that he had drunk a lot at the bar that evening, and when he decided to go home, he noticed Hannah. After waiting until the street was empty, he drove up and pulled her into the car. It seemed that the matter was approaching its logical conclusion. However, another unexpected problem arose here. The Indian authorities were in no hurry to hand over Kohli to the UK. The criminal filed appeals and tried by all means to avoid extradition. There was a struggle to hand over the criminal. This went on for almost 3 years, during which Hannah's family lived in constant anticipation and stress. They visited India 3 times and gave interviews in the hope that public attention would help achieve justice. Hannah's parents gave their word that they would not rest until he was punished in accordance with the laws of England. And it finally happened. On July 28, 2007, Kohli became the first person to be extradited from India to Britain. Upon arrival, he was immediately charged with a number of charges related to the death of Hannah. Despite the available recording of the confession, he began to deny everything, citing the fact that the Indian police were pushing him. There was enough evidence for the prosecution, so on November 25, 2008, Kohli was found guilty and sentenced to 24 years in prison. He will not be able to be released on parole until he is 63 years old. The parents waited 5 years for justice. But for a migrant from India, an English prison is hardly a severe punishment. Most prisons in the UK are clean, have good food and comfortable cells. Hannah's family was unhappy with the sentence and expressed the opinion that the criminal should be in prison for the rest of his life. And in their speech at the final hearing of the court, they expressed the hope that Kohli will spend the rest of his life behind bars. The public's reaction to this verdict was ambiguous. Some thought it was fair, while others thought why British citizens should support this monster at their own expense. Taxi driver Jason, who regularly gave Kohli rides, played an important role in catching the criminal. Jason was one of 12 recipients of the Assistance Award. What he did with the money touched the whole of British society. Taking his share of the reward, he bought a plot of land and began to build on it a school for children from disadvantaged families, which was named in memory of Hannah Memorial Academy. Hannah's parents learned about this in 2006 during their next visit to India. Returning to Britain, they helped organize a charity fundraiser to support the school. This creepy story once again tells us that danger can lurk around every corner. Even in a large British city, on one of the largest streets, people cannot feel safe.